All right, welcome, students and fifth grade families. This is my YouTube channel that I will be updating about once a week with the new skill or strategy that I'm asking your students to do on their homework and here with me in school. So I had a few parents reach out and a few students who were looking for additional support. So I'm going to start today with our first video of the school year. And today we learned strategies for division. This week we practiced using an estimate, divide, and check method. And today and next week we'll be using a strategy known as partial quotients. So my job as a teacher is to support my students by providing them with as many strategies and tools as possible, and their job as the learner is to apply whatever strategy is going to work best for them. So I'm going to walk you through step by step both of these strategies for division. Now, division is when we have a large number or a dividend that will be divided or broken up into smaller equal groups. Saying, for example, it can be as simple as Mrs. Bowers bought 20 Snickers bars, and I have 6 friends that I want to equally share with, and I have to figure out, well, how many will each friend get? And I might have some left over as well. So this strategy for division that we'll try first is the estimate, divide, and then check method that we did this week in homework and in class. So I'm going to have you watch along on my screen, and I'll be narrating over while I am working and thinking. All right, so this first strategy, I always suggest that we estimate our quotient first. The reason why I suggest we estimate first is because that's going to give our students an idea of where our quotient, meaning the answer when we divide, what our quotient will be somewhere near. That way we can assess if our answers are reasonable or not. So if I was to estimate, I'm going to want to estimate to a basic fact that my students know really well off the top of their head. So if I had them estimate, I would suggest 60 divided by 20. So I would want to round off to a number that would bring my kids here back to a basic math fact. Basic math fact being 6 divided by 2. Or this would be written as 6 tens divided by 2 tens, which would be 3. So I know that my quotient or my answer when I divide is going to be somewhere near 3, or it will be 3. So I'm going to set up a standard algorithm. Parents, to you at home, you just call this long division. That's the terminology we used. So we have our divisor, 21. Our dividend is 63. 63 is the number being divided. So I'll start off with my estimated quotient. I'm going to multiply my divisor times my estimated quotient. 21 times 3 is 63. So parents, as you know, in long division, we have 3 groups of 21, which equals 63. So I'll subtract 63 from the dividend, and I'm left with a remainder of 0. So my quotient, meaning the answer when I divided, is 3. And my remainder is 0. You can always check your division with the inverse operation. That means the opposite operation. The opposite of division is multiplication. Parents, this process might sound familiar to you as well, where we're going to be checking our work. How we check our work is we take the quotient, multiply the divisor first, and then you add the remainder. Your answer should be the dividend. So 3 times 21 is 63, plus 0 is 63. My answer matches the dividend, so I know that my answer is correct. So this was the work I had your students do this week for math. Now today's Friday the 15th, today I introduced a new strategy for your students to try. Again, my job as an educator is to provide your child with as many strategies and tools as possible, and their job is to determine which strategy will work best for them. All right, this next strategy is called a partial quotient strategy. So again, we'll set this problem up as a standard algorithm for division. The dividend goes under the house or under the roof, as some teachers like to call it, and the 17 is outside knocking on the door, ready to make groups of 17. So what I have my students do when we use partial quotients, we're going to multiply the divisor by a number that they know really, really well. My students this year, they know their tens very well. So they would be able to tell me that 17 times 10 is 170. What do I do with that 170? What do I do with that partial quotient? I'm going to subtract it from my dividend. When I subtract 436 minus 170, my remainder is 266. Now I tell my students we're not done because the remainder is larger than the divisor. So we're going to do another partial quotient. Now I'm going to think, what partial quotient could I use that's less than the remainder? I'm going to try 10 again because I know that 17 times 10 is 170. So I'll subtract 170 again from the remainder. And that's going to leave me with 96. Now I'm going to want to get another partial quotient because my remainder is larger than the divisor. But this time, I'm not going to use 10 because 170 is too large to subtract from my remainder. So I might want to try a smaller partial quotient. Maybe instead of 10, I'll use 5 instead. Half of 170 is 85. So I'll subtract 85 from the remainder. When I subtract 96 and 85, I'm left with 11 as the remainder. Now parents, I am going to stop here because my remainder is now less than the divisor. So in this problem, we know the remainder is what's left over, and that's 11. But you might be asking, okay, Mrs. Bowers, but what's the quotient? What is the actual answer? Well, my friends, the answer lays in the partial quotients. We'll find the sum of the partial quotients. So we'll add 10 plus 10 plus 5, which gives me a quotient of 25. So our answer is 25 with a remainder of 11. But I always suggest to my students to check their division with multiplication. So we will take our quotient, which was 25, and we'll multiply it by the divisor. So I'll multiply 7 times 5 is 35, and we're going to regroup. 7 times 2 is 14. Add 3 more, 17. I'm not done though. I have to now multiply with my tens place, because technically we're now multiplying 110 times 5 ones, which is 5 tens. So now I'll add my total. 5 plus 0, 7 plus 5. I'll regroup. 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 425. I now need to add the remainder, which was 11. And my answer matches the dividend. So I know my division was correct. Give myself a little check. So I know my division was indeed correct. All right, families, well, I hope that you found this somewhat helpful, a little breakdown of division here in 5th grade. And hopefully when your students get their homework next week, you'll be able to support them and help them with how to solve. All right, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk soon. Bye.